We're talking aliens and UFOs next. I'm really hoping you get on board a ship right now and get the hell out of this galaxy. Tom Maher is the executive director of the Minnesota chapter of MUFON. He is on next to discuss the latest in UFOs, UAPs, extraterrestrials, what we can do with Hunter once we get him off the rock. And if you have any questions, feel free to text in. Tom is more than happy to answer your questions. The text line is 724-ROCK. That is set to go next.
Back to the KQ Morning Show with Jason Manning and Scott Savage.
Let me tell you Mickey specials today. We've got steak and eggs served with some home fries and Mickey waffles.
Woo! I love me some steak and eggs.
Ever since they found mad cow disease in the U.S., I'm not taking any chances. It can live in your body for years before it ravages your brain.
95 KQDS.
It is 8:46 at Classic Rock KQ. Sports with Brucey Bruce coming up in a couple of moments. Today in rock history. It's Thursday, so I Was Poisoned. It's been a while since you've been here for I Was Poisoned.
I'm excited. I'll be here for the whole show.
Ooh, I'll have to tune up the guitar.
Ooh, the Martin. It's coming back out, baby.
There's like two people out there going, oh, crap. No.
Here we go.
Oh, don't do that. Joining us on the KQ hotline, the executive director of the Minnesota chapter of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, Tom Maher. Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. How's everything up in Duluth?
Everything's good, my man. A question for you. Do you have a hotline number for an alien or a UFO that we could take our esteemed friend and buddy Hunter McCullough off this rock because he's a potty mouth?
So the alien wants the hotline number.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you know somebody who knows somebody, get him over here. So we got to get this kid off the rock and probably somewhere outside the Milky Way for a little bit because he's misbehaving today. So,
well, you know, Elon Musk, I think, is working on that, so he might be the first place to go to. So,
all right, well,
not a bad idea.
We'll see if we can track Elon down. In the meantime, we do have a few questions to get to. We'll do that here on the back end of what you want to talk about today, and you want to talk about disclosure. What do you have for us?
Yeah, well, see, disclosure is one of those topics, too. You know, it's been around for a long time, and it gets a lot of buzz for a while, and it dies down, and gets a lot of buzz and dies down. And every time it gets a lot of buzz, people are kind of going, this could be it, this could be it, this could be it. So we're going in another one of those this could be it cycles. So, of course, I don't hold my breath on that, but I would want to share with your audience, though, a lot of stuff. I was watching this YouTube presentation on a YouTube channel called Vetted, which is VETTED. They did an interview with Stephen Bassett. It was about 2.5 hours long, and Stephen is he's one of the first UFO lobbyists in D.C. You know, you ever think UFOs have lobbyists in D.C.? Well, they do, and Steve Bassett is one of them. And he was talking about disclosure. And he's saying that in December and January there could be something happening, but he's expecting disclosure within the next 2 to 3 years. And when he talks about disclosure, he talks about it disclosure with a small d and disclosure with a big D. And I think that is very valid. So disclosure with a small d has been going on since Roswell, or actually you could even go back to the late 30s when Orson Welles did his War of the Worlds thing, and I think they did that all backwards, but that's another story. But so disclosure with a small d is using the media in Hollywood and things to put little things out there. So we become accustomed, and ETs have been kind of naturalized by being in our films and TV. And he even referenced Independence Day. There's a scene in Independence Day where the president's on the plane, and they mention Roswell, and the president says something like, well, that's all fable and myth and whatnot. And the Army guy kind of goes, well, actually, let me tell you a story to kind of hint that there was a craft, there was bodies at Roswell. So they're slowly been feeding us that for a long time. And I think the War of the Worlds is kind of backwards because we've seen through the slow leakage that, you know, our population is doing pretty well with all that information. And when they did War of the Worlds, they presented it as an attack on the entire planet, which freaked everybody out. People were jumping out of buildings, you know. And if they'd done the same thing but had it be a peaceful introduction, I think they would have got a completely different response. So I think it was a bad tactic, and I think it was kind of manipulative because they want to kind of keep a lid on that for a while. But so small D disclosure has been going on for a long time. He talks about the big D disclosure. Now, the big D disclosure, as he puts it, we're basically on the 1 yard line, and he thinks we're really stuck at the 1 yard line. So the big D disclosure is either the president of the United States comes out and confirms all of this, so the United States could be first, or he says leaders of other countries could come out and confirming and just saying this is real, the ETs are here, and it's present, it's a real thing. And eventually it would really force the U.S. president's hand to disclose. And he says once that kind of big D disclosure happens, all the heads of states across the world, including the Vatican, are going to come out and say, yep, the ETs are real, they're here, and this is what it is. So he's thinking, like I said, could be activity between December and January, but he expects within the next 2 to 3 years we're going to get that kind of disclosure. But he really thinks we're on the 1 yard line. And of course, the football analogy, when any team's on the 1 yard line, that's when the defense really digs in their heels. That's when they really push back, and that's when they really try to stop it. So he's expecting to see a lot of that too. So he goes into quite a lot of that. So it's a good interview. Like I said, it's with Stephen Bassett. You can find it on YouTube on the channel Vetted, and it came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago, so it's relatively fresh stuff. So if you're interested in the disclosure and what could be happening there, I definitely recommend checking out that video because there's a lot going on. It brings up a lot of good stuff.
So let me ask you maybe a two-part question just in regards to disclosure. One, with the heads of state all across the globe not getting along. I mean, obviously, the United States has its allies, but you have your China and you have Russia and all these people. If they're all in the know regarding UFOs, extraterrestrials, so forth and so on, what is the motivation for all of them to keep their mouth shut? Because I would think that Putin would want to get one up on whoever's in office here or over in China. You know what I'm saying? What's the motivation to keep everybody on the same page?
Yeah, and that's a good question because really, if you look at it, I think it was there was a South American country, I don't know if it was Venezuela or Argentina. They came out a couple of years ago and said the ET phenomenon is real, the aliens are here. I think France has done the same thing too. So a couple of heads of state have already done it, but as far as the big players like Xi Jinping in China and Russia, and of course the U.S., we haven't done that yet. And I kind of feel it's probably a power grab, is to kind of keep control of the people, keep everything, and, of course, that's the thing, too. When you come out of being the first one to say it, you're also being the first one to come out to be mocked and ridiculed, and, when you got the egos and stuff like that. But, it's hard to say because you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. If you get into the conspiracy theories and stuff, you go, oh, well, this government's already, got treaties with this alien race or that alien race. So there's a lot of stuff that, if you're into the conspiracy thing, we don't know, and it's not up front, it's kind of behind the scenes. So it's hard to say what all the dynamics. It's not just the humans that are, keeping it quiet. It's what are the behind-the-scenes entities that also want to keep it quiet, too? So, but good question.
So then the second part of that, what would be the motivation for a superpower to offer up full disclosure?
Yeah, it's funny because Bassett mentioned that at some point, too. He said he was talking about that. Why would they hold up? Because he said, look, you don't need a report from the CIA to figure this thing out. They're flying all over the place. So it's at some point you can't keep the lid on it. So, really when it's out, it's out, and it's going to get out, and it just keeps getting more and more out there. So to keep denying and denying and denying, and to keep covering up and covering up and covering up, and then as you continue to deny and to continue to cover up, you're building this reputation that, our government's lying to us, our government's covering up for us. We can't trust them. So there's, it's going to be out of the bag, and it's do you want to be looking like a fool holding it, or do you want to be the one to say, yep, here it is, here's what we got?
Sure. We're speaking with Tom Maher. He's the executive director of the Minnesota chapter of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. Before we cut you loose, we do have a couple of questions coming in on the text line at 724-ROCK. Scotty?
Yeah, this one, the texter would like to know, what powers a UFO? Nobody talks about this. They're wondering electricity, nuclear, sun, solar, jet propulsion. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, those are all good guesses, and of course, mine's going to be a guess too, but those aren't the theories that I hear bandied about. The theories that I hear bandied about is zero-point energy and anti-gravity, or possibly even antimatter. So those are the ones that are possible, and that's the thing too. There's theories saying that, the craft that we see within a planet's atmosphere may be powered by one thing, but craft that are outside the planet's atmosphere that may be going much further distances could have a different power source. But, and that goes back to that whole disclosure thing, too, the leaking through the media. I think Star Trek was a big thing for leaking information out and getting information out. And that whole warp drive system and warping space, I think that's a very high probability that could be what's happening. And, of course, that could be using zero-point energy. And, so I think that's a big possibility, and that could be part of where that's coming from. So, but yeah, good guesses, but we'll find out. I like the anti-gravity. I like the warp drive idea. I think that's very possible.
All right, very good, sir. We're running out of time, but you said to possibly look for some sort of breaking news. You said the end of January, beginning of February. Is that right?
December, January, Stephen Bassett saying there could be stuff happening. He wasn't specific about what, though, so, it's like I said, I never hold my breath when it comes to the government. That's the thing with the government. You go to court and they say they want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Well, with the government, you'd be lucky if you get one of those completely, like a miracle to get two, and I doubt you'd ever get all three of those, and I'm never holding my breath because they're going to tell us what they want us to know, when they want us to know it. And when it comes to disclosure, if you think about it, when Roswell happened, the government came out and said, it was just a weather balloon. And that was the government's disclosure. It was a weather balloon. So even though they're quote-unquote disclosing, are they disclosing the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And I have strong doubts about all of that, but I don't hold my breath. I just kind of wait to see what shows up. So.
Yeah, I've done a lot of reading on Roswell over the years, and though it happened all those years ago, I'm not saying it was extraterrestrials, but what I'm definitely aware of is the government covered that up. So, it could be... Yep. It could be extraterrestrials, could be something else. Tom, talk about MUFON real quick and why people should check you out.
Yeah, MUFON, we're actually growing, so check us out because we're where all the cool kids hang out. So we're actually a nonprofit. We actually came out of the ashes of Project Blue Book, which J. Allen Hynek was the civilian advisor for Project Blue Book. So we're not government. We're a private organization. We take UFO reports and we investigate them and we study them and we try to draw conclusions. Sometimes we can't explain the sightings that are happening. Many times we can, and we're one of the largest databases in the world of UFO sightings. We don't know what the government's got, but we know the government is interested in our database of what we've got. So we've got a huge collection of information gathered from the people. And we've actually got a new, not to do a pitch or sell, we've got a new offering called Project Aquarius where for a $50 a year prescription or subscription, you can get in and see all of our information. I mean, not the anonymous stuff that, like the names and addresses, but the cases and stuff. You can see drawings of the cases. You can see UFO sighting maps and reports going back. You can see all of our journals going back. You can see our symposium newsletter. So if you're interested in the subject and you want more information than you know what to do with, definitely Project Aquarius Library is definitely like I said, for $50 a year, you're going to get so much information and access to. And we've got the articles from newspapers and stuff going back 50, 60 years or more. So yeah, definitely want to check that out. So and we've got our stuff happening down in the Twin Cities. And we've got Northland MUFON happening up in the northern area, too. And they meet in two different locations. One's near Fargo, and the other one's closer to Duluth. So if you want to check out a meeting live, you can certainly do that. So we're moving and shaking in Minnesota. So, yeah, definitely check us out if you're interested.
Beautiful. Tom, thank you. We'll chat with you again here in a few weeks.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right, you too. That's Tom Maher, Executive Director of MUFON, the Minnesota chapter of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, which I still have my dad's card. He was a member of MUFON.
For real?
Yeah, he was. He was huge into UFOs, extraterrestrials, and all that stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm not huge into it, but I'm very interested in it. And I'm 51-49. I'm 51 that, yes, there's something out there.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a little bit more like anybody else, but, it's fascinating, to say the least. 8:59, Sports Up in a few. AQ.